This is the Storied Outdoors, a podcast somewhere between Lewis and Tolkien and Lewis and Clark, finding clarity in the stories we tell and the adventures that shape us. Welcome to the Storied Outdoors. My name is Brad Hill, and I'm joined by my pal Brian Gill up in Birmingham, and I am down in Mobile, Alabama, and we are fired up today to sit down with Jeremiah Doughty. I was going to mispronounce it, but you gave me the correct pronunciation.
Teed him up nice.
Keyed him up. So I always ask, people's names are important. So Jeremiah, wild game chef, hunter, founder of From the Field to Plate. I love that because every now and then we eat at farm to table. But I like this idea of field to plate. After developing an allergy to beef, he turned to fully wild game and discovered not only a way to feed his family, but also a calling to teach others about how to harvest, butcher, and cook their own food. Through his hands-on schools, writing, and podcasts, Tasting the Wild, Jeremiah helps people see that the true trophy isn't the antlers on the wall. I love this. It's the meal on the table. He's passionate about connecting people to their food source, honoring the animals we hunt, and showing that wild game can be both approachable and delicious. Welcome to the show, Jeremiah.
Oh, appreciate y'all having me on.
Man, when Brad shared with me some of the things that we're going to be talking about today, I just could not stop thinking about this conversation. But, a lot of people want to get to know you. So can you kind of back us up, give us a little background? I know we talked about it before the show. You're in Orange County, California. I've flown in there several times in my life. Beautiful area. Give me a little background on you, where you live now and where you grew up.
Yeah. I always tell everyone I was born and raised in the deep south of California. And so it just makes it easier, especially when you're traveling hunting. You're like, yeah, I'm from the south. They're like, awesome. No one ever, because I am from the south of California. Yeah, but exactly. No, I was born and raised in Long Beach area. That is kind of my stomping ground. Everyone always assumes it's Idaho, Montana, Texas from what I do. But nope, I was born and raised on the beach, in the water, surfing, fishing all the time on the ocean. For big fish, small fish, you name it. That's what my dad is, a very passionate fisherman. So we've always had boats and going out on the Pacific and just chasing stuff, going to the islands, going down to Mexico. And then when I was about 6 years old, I heard my dad and my uncle and all them telling stories of dove hunting. And I remember just sitting there like, oh my gosh, sitting on the hood of a truck, sleeping under the stars, shooting birds with your buddies and your uncles and your family. Like, that just sounds amazing. So when I was 7, I conned them into letting me go with them as a bird dog. And I
go for this and go for that.
Yeah, no, we bird dog. Hey, bird dog, go get that. You got it.
All right.
Diving into canals in my underwear at 7 years old to go retrieve a bird that fell in a canal. And, all the old guys loved it because they didn't have to go get a bird. They sat there on their chair. And I have not missed a dove season opener since I was 7 years old.
That's awesome.
So 42 years old, and it became the start of fall for me. Summer's over. Now we can run in. We can do all this fun stuff. And then, so that pretty much was my hunting career, was dove. Then I got 16, and I was like, there's got to be more than just hitting dove. I've been doing this for 10 years now. I'm out shooting all the old guys now because now they're way older. Out shooting my dad, first to limits. So I got into teaching myself how to more upland game hunt. So got into rabbits, got into quail, got into pheasant, got into chucker. We've got 3 types of quail here in Southern California, so you can chase quail. When I was 18, I was quail hunting, and I started seeing ducks fly over. I was like, I can teach myself how to hunt ducks. So I taught myself how to hunt ducks, and then realized that I was hunting ducks. I started seeing turkeys in the woods where I was hunting ducks, and I was like, that's a bigger bird. And so taught myself how to hunt turkey, and that's kind of where it stayed until about 2007. I was 27 years old, so 20 years of literally just hunting. If it flies, it dies. And still to this day, shotguns are, I've got 48 shotguns sitting in that safe right next to me. And 2007, got married, working high-end restaurants, steakhouses, as management and corporate trainers and back of the house, and started getting really, really sick. Every time I would eat, had no idea why I was getting sick. Doctors are like, this is right in the beginning when gluten was starting to become a thing in 2006, 2007. Yeah. And so running all these tests, I'm like, dude, I can eat a peanut butter and jelly sandwich all day long and a tuna sandwich. That's what I'm living off of because that's the only thing that doesn't make me sick. So it's not gluten. Well, it's dairy, it's this. And so starting to take away everything that was part of the normal, what everyone was getting sick off of. And for the next year and a half was just trying to figure out what this was after doctor and specialists. And come to find out, I'm allergic to bovine fats. So I have a bovine fat allergy. I was one of the first people to ever be diagnosed with it. Now I think there's like 350 of us now, and we're all about the same age. There's a lot of kids that are starting to come up with it now too. So they're really starting to look at the bovine, like what are we introducing into cows back then with all of us in our late 30s, early 40s, and now a lot of kids in Asian countries where they're growing a lot of beef, that all of these kids are starting to get this same allergy. So what is going into the beef? But that kind of thrust me into this idea of like having to get more meat, right? Because I'm an Irish kid, born and raised on meat and taters, and yeah, I can eat as many birds as I want, but you still want a steak. You still want ground. You still want pepperonis. You still want sausages. You still want fill in all the blanks. And I was getting ready for fall turkey season, and this old timer pulled up to a bow range. Again, I'm in Southern California, so when someone comes and they're wearing camouflage and they got a camouflage bow, and it's not just a high-end Asian guy with a $3,000 competition recurve, I'm like, hey, do you hunt? And he's like, I do. So we got in a conversation. Yeah. Wait a minute. Wait, you're not going to call me a murderer and egg my car like everyone else does? Wow. So we started chit-chatting, and he's like, yeah, I'm going to Wyoming. I'm going to go hunt antelope. And I was like, man, I wish I could go hunt big game. It's just so expensive. And in Southern California, it's so hard to get drawn or to go find the animals because you're competing with so many people. And he's like, well, Wyoming antelope tags for does are $36, including tags and license. And I went, say again?
I might have that.
And so I literally put my bow in my case, shook the guy's hand, drove home, got on the computer, this is back when you could buy 4 over-the-counter leftover tags before. Now you can't buy anything because COVID sent everyone to Wyoming. And bought 4 tags, called up a buddy, and I'm like, he's a fireman. He had off all next week because he works, 1 week on, 1 week off. I was like, dude, you want to drive to Wyoming tomorrow? He's like, let me ask my wife. And so we got in the car, his little Honda Civic. We drove to Wyoming, not knowing anything. Again, we're both bird hunters. We're just shotgun hunters. Got a rifle, put on a cheap, little Benelli or a little Burris scope from Walmart. Didn't sight it in because, again, we're shotgun hunters. No idea what we're doing. We're like, oh, just put it on. It's all, boom, pull the trigger, right? Hardest 7 days. Yeah, hardest 7 days of my life. But ended up shooting one and walked up to it, and I was like, I don't know what to do. This is really before YouTube was out. There wasn't any way.
How do I get the meat?
Yeah, I'm like, okay, and it's wrapped in skin. I can't just shove my thumb in the, in the cloaca and rip out a breast. That's what I do with birds. And so I pull out a little Swiss Army pocket knife that I got when I was 13. The one that has the toothpicks and the tweezers and the one that I've whittled. I can't tell you how many pieces of sticks and stones with this thing over the 20 years I've had it.
Plenty sharp.
Oh, plenty. And so I start to try to gut this thing, and I'm trying to cut the skin, and I'm like, this is stupid. This is why I'm a bird hunter, not a big game hunter. But I struggled through it, got it. We threw it. We literally threw it. We took all of our luggage out of the luggage rack on top, on those clamshells, and we threw the antelope up in that clamshell, and we drove to a processor because we have again no idea what we're doing. And the processor, within hours, gave us our meat back. So us not knowing, he gave us whatever he gave us. He didn't process our meat. It was rock solid frozen. He had 500 antelope hanging. He probably was like, these California kids, here, take this crap. Got home, hated the meat. I was like, this is stupid. This is not worth it. This is not worth the time, the effort. But growing up with my dad's mentality of if you kill it, you eat it, there was this ingrained within me, like, hey, you took its life, you suffer through it. So going back into the restaurant, I'm like, okay, how? I literally write recipes to pair wine and recipes together. I talk to these chefs. I talk to the servers on how to articulate recipes and how to sell certain things. So I'm like, there's got to be a way. So I started just researching what paired well with that super strong, sagey, musky flavor of an antelope that now, to this day, no, wasn't cooled properly or taken care of properly. Mm-hmm. And I started processing it, and I created some meals that my family at the time, my wife and my 2-year-old, we just started devouring it. And I'm like, all right. So the next year I bought 4 more tags, studied how to butcher. I'm not taking it back to a butcher. I'm not doing anything else. I shot 4 antelope in a day because I just put in the time, and that just snowballed effect. I started taking out friends. I took out my dad on his first big game hunt. You know, sitting there with your dad when he pulls a trigger, drops an animal, you both start crying because it's supposed to be the other way around, right? Like your dad's supposed to take you on that first hunt. And I'm teaching my dad how to gut animals. I'm teaching my dad, you know, I've taken my dad out on all of his first hunts other than dove. My dad has now shot animals all over the world because I'm like, hey, you want to go? And so it really, that's kind of where it started snowballing. And then from there, it was like, became a full-time obsession to get more and more critters to taste. And yeah, it just really kind of, that was the process of kind of how the story started.
Man, that's really cool. Our friend and former guest, Chef Jean-Paul Bourgeois, he said, I was asking him, I was like, man, who do you think we should reach out to? And he said, man, you need to get up with Jeremiah. And so I was glad that I did. And when I started looking through, you know, your social media and your website, I was really excited to talk to you. I do want to back up a little bit. How did you get into like high cuisine and like and chef and the chef work that you do?
Yeah, for me, it was. I never wanted to be in restaurants. Like I wanted to be a cop. I wanted to be a hostage like negotiator. I wanted to go in there and like bust in doors, be like, let go of that guy. But then I, 18, was going through all that, found out I was colorblind, and the cops were like, you can't be a cop because you're colorblind. And I went, oh crap. Like this has been since I wanted to find dinosaur bones or be a cop. Like there was no in between. It was like
Indiana Jones or Clint Eastwood. I mean,
yeah, exactly. Like either I'm finding people that are dead or I'm going to find a dinosaur that's dead. And so I started just getting into restaurants because you're still in college, and it was one of those deals where it's like, oh, it's easy, quick, fast money. And so really started doing that. You know, I grew up in a household of 7 kids, and so cooking was always there. My grandpa's always at the grill. My grandma, you know, all my grandmas, it was like we had all the family over for Taco Tuesdays. We had whenever there was a party, there was so much food, it was ridiculous. My mom we never ate out. It was always food in the house. It was always cooking. And so the passion was always there. So I started getting into the restaurant. And then when you get into, you know, serving, bartending, managing, you're at the restaurant for 12, 14, 16 hours a day, and you're eating the same food. And so it became a passion for me to create new food. And then all of a sudden the restaurants are like, hey, we want to put that burger on the menu that you just created, or we want to take that wrap you created and put it on the menu, or hey, the compound butter that you just made for that steak, all the cooks are going insane over it. Can we get the recipes? So it just kind of started going in there, and I stayed in the front of the house. Like I'd still go in the back. If it was busy, I would jump back there and I would just be slinging stuff, but I was in front of the house. Like I was GM, I was AGM. I was always talking to people, making sure food was coming out, you know, picture perfect. And so there was never really a culinary school. It was literally just hard knocks of getting there and learning the flavors and learning the profiles and learning how food should look when it goes out. Because one of the things at one of the restaurants we were at is we don't want to be like McDonald's where you see the picture of a food and then you get the burger and it's not the picture of the food.
Not the same. Never the same.
If someone looks, and even 90% of the restaurants you go to, you look at the menu, you see a picture, you're like, I want that. It comes out, you're like,
that's not what I ordered.
So
the wrong picture here.
Yeah, when I was AGMing and GMing, it was like, if someone orders a food that has a picture, I mean, I had pictures posted. I said, the cooks, you know, a lot of them didn't speak any English. I said, this is exactly what it looks like, or you don't have a job. And so for me, it became the passion of, if you see it, that's what you get. If you say there's a flavor, they should taste that flavor. If you say there's an ingredient, they should see that. All the ingredients should be visible. If you're saying that there's jalapenos in the burger, I shouldn't have to open the burger to find jalapenos. I should see jalapenos. So just the passion for food, working in restaurants for 20 years really became to see people excited when they took a bite of food, or to walk up to a table and hear the joy and really understand that no matter what happens, if you don't eat, you die. And so it's like, how can I, give people that experience of the joy of taking a bite of food? Because for me, it's about memories. It's about building a memory. You walk into a mall anywhere in North America and you smell pretzels, you're automatically thinking of, Aunt Anne's pretzels or whatever. And those memories flash back of you 6 years old, your mom got you a little cheese sauce, dipping it, and, or you're walking through an airport, and you smell a Cinnabon, it takes your memory back to your grandma cooking Cinnabons, or cinnamon rolls in the kitchen. And so everything with food is who we are as people. There's a passion, there's a sense, we eat with every single sense, with our smell, with our touch, with our taste, with everything we have, we eat. And so that's kind of where this idea, but I never went to culinary school. I never got taught by anyone professional. It was just understanding food, flavor, and the excitement of people.
Yeah.
So when I finished out college, I finished it out in cultural and physical anthropology.
Oh, cool.
To understand I always tell people that it was the study of people and their culture, and every food has a culture. And once you understand that food culture, you can understand people better.
Yeah. So. I was grinning because every time I hear Cinnabon, I think about Jim Gaffigan and his whole stand up about Cinnabon. He's like, I don't know whether to sit in it or eat it.
Oh, it's so good.
So man, that's
funny memory.
You must have a really God-given palate that is sophisticated to be able to do this and just kind of pick out these flavors and all of that. And I feel like that's a gift in itself, because some people think, oh, that tastes like a burger, but they're not tasting the nuances. They're not tasting the salt and the other types of things that are bringing out that flavor.
Yeah, and I think it does come from just an absolute love for food. Mm-hmm. I mean, as you can tell, I'm not a skinny, like that whole never trust a skinny chef really kind of plays true.
That's a good adage.
Because
wisdom.
I mean, that's just a little nugget for all you to put in your back pocket. But this idea for me, it's like I get made fun of a lot by a lot of I did in the beginning when I started becoming this wild game cooking guy. This is back when it was just like Hank Shaw, Scott Lathiff. There was a couple of those key guys that were doing it, and I was like, yeah, but the problem is you guys are making high-end fancy junk. Like, no one's going to go spend, no offense, I love those guys, talk to those guys all the time, but I couldn't afford a $50 bottle of black truffle oil to drizzle over the top of my mallard as it was crispy in a cat. Wasn't going to happen.
Sounds amazing.
No, and it tastes phenomenal, but
it's not realistic.
90% of the hunters that are out there look at that and go, that looks really good. Okay, wrap it in bacon. And so what I started looking at is how can I come in as a chef who's creating food that your family's going to eat at home, because I have no other option. Like all these other guys, they can go to get steak, they can go get beef, they can go get fill in the blank. I don't have that option. And so for me, it became, how can I take what I like to eat and use wild game in that sense where people aren't afraid to use it, because everyone's like, oh, it'll dry out. You're a liar. I don't add any any fat to any of my ground. I will make you a venison burger that is better than any burger you've ever eaten with zero fat in it, because I understand the way the meat works.
Mm-hmm. When you add something to something, it's an excuse. So soaking something in buttermilk, it's an excuse because you don't want to know how to use it and you don't want to learn how to do it. So Grandpa said soaking buttermilk, I'm soaking buttermilk. Okay, well, actually there's a better process to that. And so for me, it became this, my wife says it's my tism, is to really understand the way things work and to understand, like, break things down. Like, they make fun of me. We're sitting out there and a bird flies over and I'll tell you all about that bird and where it came from. There's a snake in there and I'll tell you, like, she's like, you just have this passion to know as much as you can. I was like, well, I was homeschooled. I had nothing better to do than sit at home and read books. Like, we go to the library on Tuesdays. It was one school book and three books that you wanted. My brothers and sisters were getting whatever books, and I was getting the complete breakdown of North American, waterfowl. And I would just
absorb that book. And then the next one it would be like how to cook Mexican food, and I would just absorb this book. And so it really became this idea for me of like, how can I turn my passion into a career? How can I get out of 15, 16-hour days in the restaurant and hunt and fish for a living? And that's really where I was like, okay, this is what I got to do. And it just, that's where that giving it to God, flipping the switch, you know, and really kind of pursuing it full time.
That's good. Where can you unpack where this idea of the real trophy is the one you put on your plate? How did that develop for you?
For me, it's because I look at these guys that are, I mean, I've got deer, I've got turkeys, I've got, you know, big bucks, I've got antelope, I'm over there, I got a bear skull up here. All of those were, I would say, lucky animals, right? Because of the fact that, like, what you don't see on this other wall is the spikes or the little guys or for me, if it's legal, it's legal. Because of the fact that I'm truly doing it for the meat. Mm-hmm. So I've been blessed where I have a lot of friends that have Texas ranches now through this process. So it's like, hey, we need to take 7 bucks tomorrow when we're there. So it's like any buck that walks in, it's like, right? But you can ask them too. When a doe walks in that's fatter than that buck, I'm like, are you sure we can't take that doe? Right? Or for me too, and like you can ask them, the bucks come in and all of a sudden like the blue quail come in and I'm like, give me a shotgun. Like, I want to shoot those quail over there. They're like, but that buck, I'm like, whatever the buck is. Because as many things as I've eaten around the world, I still can't make that taste good. I still can't make those hard horns taste other than a hard horn. And so for me, when you take away the trophy aspect of how big is the rack, how big is the beard, how big are the spurs, you know, how many curls does that mallard have? Hey, does that pinhead have a double sprig or a single sprig? Hey, does that aoudad have a full giant double, you know, is it scratching its back with its horns? And you look at it as, hey, I'm filling the freezer with meat. It really changes the way you look at it. You know, like we were out on a big giant media hunt and all these guys are talking about it and everyone's, oh, I want to get the biggest buck. You have all these corporate guys, you have all these influencers, you have all these whatever, and I'm sitting there in camp and I knew the rancher and he comes over and says, hey, Jeremiah, I got a really funky buck on camera. Nobody's going to want him taken. I was like, put me in that blind, baby. You know? and I mean, where is he at? Oh, here he is right here. So he's got a backwards.
That looks like the ones on my land.
Yeah. But, you know, he wasn't the biggest buck. He wasn't the craziest buck, but he's got just, it literally goes backwards on him, you know? That's cool. He's showing this to all these other guys, and all these other guys are like, no, I want the big one. I want the 12-pointer that you just showed on camera. I want the whatever. And I get out there, I'm like, that's another 120 pounds of meat in the freezer, baby. Boom, right? And I get asked all the time, like, what goes through your mind when you pull the trigger? And this is not just me being like, hey, because I've got a shirt on. No, I literally start to think and salivate about what I can utilize this meat for. Like, I did a culinary, like, behind me, these turkey fans, this is a single season culinary grand slam, I called it, nice. Where I went to 6 different states to shoot the 5 birds, or the 4 birds plus the hybrids. And when I got to that state, it was, what recipe can I complement that state's culinary aspect with that bird?
Cool.
So like we're in Florida shooting, you know, Osceola,
yeah.
And we're sitting there and we're going to the blind, you know, we're going to the stand where we're going to go start looking. And there's this giant hive of bees on this fence right by all these palmettos. And they're going back and forth to these palmettos, and and I'm sitting there going, man, I bet palmetto honey tastes phenomenal. Mm-hmm. And then right behind them was an orange grove. And I was like, oh, Florida oranges, honey. I'm going to make an orange honey glaze for this wild turkey that we shoot. And it's like, then I'm walking and I start to see wild onions growing. I'm like filling my pockets with wild onions. And the guy's looking at me, he's like, what? I'm like, I'm just thinking of a recipe. He's like, we don't even have a bird yet. And I was like, the bird's the least of my problems. Like, look at all the other ingredients around us. And we shot the bird and we cooked out in the middle of this guy's pasture. Literally, I'm like pulling oranges, we're cutting oranges, squeezing it. And he's sitting there going, he's like, this is the best wild turkey I've ever eaten. I said, because everything we got was from where this turkey is living.
Comes from the field.
Nothing left farther than where this bird was from. And so for me, there's this passion. You want me to pause? I see Brad froze. There, he's back.
No.
I heard his voice moving, but
so did I, but he was like,
old technology.
Yeah, gotta love it. So, but in this whole process, and then we go to Texas to go hunt the Rio, and we're sitting there, and the guy who's my buddy out there, has this big crawfish boil, and it's going crazy the night before we're shooting turkeys, and he's got this whole leftover, and they're all shucking and getting all the tails all out so we can put them in the fridge. Someone's like, man, we should stuff something with all these crawfish, and I'm like, ding, right? And so literally we went and shot a turkey, and it's like my mind started, I'm sitting there riding in the field like, oh, what am I gonna do with this turkey? We stuffed it full of cheese and spinach and the crawfish, and we rolled it. We seasoned it in Cajun seasoning. I made a Creole cream sauce to go on top. We sliced it, and then we served it with more crawfish on the side. And all the guys are like, where does that come from? I'm like, I have no idea. But I don't look at a turkey as a turkey. Mm-hmm. I look at a turkey as I'm going to eat this bird, and how can I make this bird the best or the coolest thing? Like I just got dove season, right? We had 48 guys in the field for this opener. We shot 861 birds by 7 a.m. And all these guys are like, what are we doing for dinner, Jeremiah? I'm like, I don't know, but I got all these ideas, right? And so we start cooking for all these guys, and it's not wrapped in bacon. It's not, it doesn't have a jalapeno on it. And these guys are like, oh, you can utilize dove that way. And so for me, it's changing the narrative with every bite. And so it's like, how can you change who we are as wild game chefs? Like, talking to Chef Jean-Paul, like me and him go over these ideas. Hey, how should I do this? I'm like, oh, hey, this is really good. Or what should I do here? And I think bouncing those ideas off of people to get out of the, hey, this is just a duck, or this is just an antelope, or this is just a deer, or this is just a turkey. You ask guys, if I ask you guys, hey, what's your favorite way to cook wild turkey? What are you going to say? Turkey nuggets, right? Because that's just what people do. That's what Dad taught them. That's what Grandpa taught them. That's what you teach your kids. Mm-hmm. But I think I've only made turkey nuggets twice because I'm like, I can utilize this bird so many different ways than just frying it in hot oil.
Yeah. Recently, we made. I took some pheasant and we made. My wife makes a great chicken pot pie. Man, we just swapped out the chicken for the pheasant, and it was awesome.
I tell people all the time because they're like, well, what should I do with this? I'm like, well, anything you do with the chicken. Well, what can I do with this antelope? Anything you do with beef.
Mm-hmm.
What can I do with this quail? Anything you do with chicken. It's like, they're like, well, no. I'm like, go on Pinterest, find a recipe that has chicken and just substitute the pheasant. Mm-hmm. And they're like, I can do that? I'm like, a bird's a bird. Red meat is red meat. A duck is a duck. I have done Peking duck with mallards, pintails, and gadwall. It's just understanding the process that a bird is a bird, a hoofed animal is a hoofed animal, a pig is a pig, and it's like once you get away from it's a deer, or it's a oversized wild boar, or it is a overmature antelope, or it is a black bear. Like once the hide comes off and the meat's in your freezer, it all looks the same. Mm-hmm. And so how can you take that meat and really get passionate about the food and get your family excited to eat it, and in turn get everyone else excited? Like we shot 170 something snow geese in December. I came back and made snow goose meat sticks, summer sausage, bratwursts, and I'm handing people, and we went to SHOT Show, and all these guys are like, oh, we don't, snow goose is disgusting, as they're chomping on, on meat sticks. And I go, oh, by the way, you just ate, careful, there still might be some steel shot in that goose. And they're like, Oh, wow. And so when you can change people's minds of what they've been told or what they've been taught, because for me, I wasn't brought up in the, I didn't start big game hunting until I was 27.
Right.
So I wasn't, filled with all this, well, it's just a deer, it's gamey. Like gamey's not a word to me, because you can't have a deer taste gamey and a pheasant taste gamey and an elk taste gamey. It can be a condition, but it can't be a flavor, because the flavor of a deer tastes like a deer. Flavor of an elk, depending on if it's high mountain or low mountain, tastes like an elk. It just has a little more earthiness or some more bitterness or boldness or fill in the blank, right? Like I remember shooting a turkey off of an apple orchard that was drunk from eating fermented apples that had fallen. Like it was walking around in circles, like couldn't even gobble. And I really felt bad shooting it. And then I was like,
Not really.
so then for me, it became, okay, well, I'm gonna cook this. And I opened it up and it smelled like apple moonshine. Like
Yeah,
it
you cut
smelled.
out the middletman for that drunk chicken.
Oh, dude! So I made a drunken wild turkey. I took apples from the orchard, sautéed them up. I went and got an apple moonshine, made a really thick glaze with it, poached it. And, dude, it was ridiculous. But I'm like, if the turkey's getting drunk off of it, everyone else should get drunk off of it, eating it, and serve it to everybody and light it on fire with it. And everyone's like, oh, yep, let's go. And so for me, I don't know. I'm a different person.
I love that.
If you're listening to this podcast, like I'm sitting here listening to him talk, I don't know about you, but I'm getting hungry.
Oh, it's lunchtime here for me. Remember, you guys are past it.
This is amazing sounding.
Man, there's a saying in farming that it says if it grows together, it goes together.
Amen.
And I feel like that's exactly what you're doing. You're just taking it to the next level with the meat and all of the things around it. I think that's brilliant. I love that.
I love that. Yeah.
That to me feels like what people would have done, our ancestors would have done. This is something that they would have. This would have been just no brainer. What
we opened up.
What are we gonna eat this time of year? Well, that's what's growing.
Well, we were in. I was hunting with Thompson Center this past fall, and they had a bunch of guys from Fish and Game Magazine and Carnivore Magazine. They were all out hunting at Greg Ritz's ranch, and he's like, "Hey, you want to come out and cook and help us do stuff?" Yeah, sure, no problem. And we're walking out in the field, and all these deer that they're shooting are in the turnip fields. These turnips are the size of softballs. And I was like, Greg, you guys ever eat these turnips? He's like, no, this is deer food. I was like, you're not eating any of these turnips? They're like,
people food too.
They're like, well, no. So I'm sitting there and I'm like pulling turnips, literally filling my backpack with turnips. And he's like, what? I said, they just shot a deer out of this field eating turnips. We're having turnips with dinner tonight because I'm cooking the deer. And they were all just like, okay. And so dude, and to this day, like I went turkey hunted with one of the guys. He goes, "It was the best turnips I've ever had." Because what I did is I parboiled them so they got a little softer because they're really hard. Sliced them real kind of a 1/4 inch thick, and I seasoned them real good. I put Parmesan cheese, threw them under the oven, so they got like almost like a twice baked potato type deal with them, and then pulled them out and served that with. I did a bourbon glaze on a bone-in backstrap. So we sliced the backstraps with that. So you had the cheesy turnips with the backstrap and then we did like a bacon Brussels sprout. And all these guys are sitting there going, "Where'd you get these turnips?" I go, "Where he shot his deer." Like the deer blood is still on the top of the greens of the turnip. And for me, but that's the idea, right? Like we were hunting antelope, and we gut open one of the antelopes, and I was like, "You guys smell that?" And they're like, "Oh, it smells like dead antelope." I'm like, No. Beyond the antelope, do you smell that? And they're like, "No, we smell antelope." I go, "I smell rosemary, like thick rosemary."
Yes.
And they're like, "Jeremiah, we smell guts." So I literally take the stomach and I open the stomach up, and there's rosemary shoots. So then I look around and I find wild rosemary growing on the side of this ridge, and they're like, the two guys were like, "What are you doing?" I said, "We're making dinner. We're making something with rosemary tonight for this antelope, because if he ate it, we're eating it." And I pick all this wild rosemary and we cook this dish. And after, the guys are like, "That was phenomenal," because our minds don't think like that. Our minds are thinking fried backstrap, and I was like, or chili, or But it's like, to me, it was like, I don't know. Again, like you said, there's something different in my brain. It's my tism that my wife says, where I can smell something and see something, and it becomes an obsession to try to figure out how to make that animal. I don't know. It's such a respect for the animal in my mind. It's not for me. It's like he was eating it. Like, this is his food. We should pair his meat with his food, because I don't know. There's just something so spiritual, so human about that, about growing food, animals coming in, eating the food that we're growing, and then pairing that food that we grew with the animals that we just harvested. It's God's farm that we just are here to manage. And I'm like, I can't get past it. I shot a turkey that was eating. I opened up the gizzard and it had a bunch of lemon seeds in it. So I went back to where I shot and I found all these lemon trees. I'm like, okay, I'm going to do a citrus lemon with this. It's just this, there's something in my head that's like, hey, how can you honor and respect this animal more than cooking it a meal with its last meal type aspect, you know? And
No.
make fun of me all you want, but
No, I don't think so at all.
but it's just, for me, it's just food is my passion. And it's not, you know, some guys cook to cook. I cook because I just love to cook, and I love people's expressions. I got asked for a magazine that I was being interviewed for. They're like, what's the favorite part? What's your favorite part about being a chef? And I said, the silence after the first bite. If people are talking after they take a first bite of food, your food sucks. If it's quiet, every mouth is full, and everyone's enjoying that first bite. And so to me, it's the quiet after the first bite.
Man,
And that'll be it till the day I die. If it's loud and talking, I didn't do a good job. If it's still and quiet at the table, it's like, freaking nailed it.
Got it.
Man, you do a good job of talking about food in connection to community and people and bringing people together at the table. Do you feel like that kind of comes from your upbringing? That was such a communal event in your house?
Oh, 100%. My dad built a table for 25 people in our living room.
Love it.
And we were just talking about this weekend, me and one of my sisters that I'm closest to. Our family, our house was, I get emotional just talking about it. Our house was the safe spot for a lot of kids that were hurting or in pain or fill in the blank, right? Our house, my parents were always open. My mom refuses to this day to still lock her front door. She doesn't. She'll tell anybody, my front door is not locked. The reason is if you lock a door, you're telling people not to come in. And so for my family, it was, if my front door is open and someone wants to come rob us, take it all. But if that person opens my door and it's locked, they're going to turn around and walk away if they need a hug, if they need a meal, if they need a fill in the blank. And so for the way I grew up was my dad built this table in this dining room. My dad then built benches in this dining room. So each bench held 11 people. And then, you had your ends. And my mom would, Tuesdays were taco night. Thursdays were spaghetti night. And she would tell everyone dinner's at 6:00. And there would be 25 tables, places set, even if only the 9 of us kids were there, because there might be an off chance that someone's going to stop by. And so for me, this idea of surrounding yourself, of being completely open and being there for somebody was instilled so strongly within me that it's, even for this dove field, like we found this dove field over this weekend that was just insane. And I got permission from the farmer who wasn't going to do anything with it. And he's like, hunt it all you want. And I start calling people. Like I said, we had 48 people showing up. The guy that got my dad and everyone into hunting, he hasn't hunted in a long time. His name's Roy. He was like, called my dad. My dad's like, dude, Jeremiah found this field. Come hunt it. Dude, it's going to be bonkers opening. And Roy came to the field and saw 48 people. I made breakfast for 50 people that morning. Everyone got to the field at 4:30 in the morning. I have big lights out. We're in a big circle. People don't know each other. I have one guy, Brian, who's saying a blessing and a prayer and a little devotional over it all. People are eating stuff. They're talking. The dogs are running around. There's 8 kids running around. And Roy pulls up and sees all that. And he told me this later. He goes, I pulled up and went, what did he do? Why are there so many people there? If this field is so epic, why are there 50 people here? Like, it should be us hunting this field. It should be, right? And he pulled up and he told my dad this. My dad goes, Roy, it's Jeremiah. He would sit in the car and let everyone else hunt so that they have the experience to hunt this field. And then afterward, Roy comes up to me and goes, dude, the way that these people had so much respect and were thanking you, and he goes, I had so much fun. And I go, right, Roy, when I was growing up and we found a spot, you would tell us to lie. We'd go into town and they're like, did you find a spot? You're like, somewhere over by the granary, right? And now it's like me, I'm like, dude, I can have 70 people on this field. I only have 50. I need to find 20 more people to get on this field to have fun and to experience the joy of literally, I made 50 breakfast burritos. I'm insane, but and it's just to see them laugh and have the joy of eating a burrito next to someone they don't know. And then getting in the field, we do a biggest bird competition. So everyone's throwing in money. This little kid ended up winning it. It was his first bird he ever shot, and he had the big. We do wingtip to wingtip, like fishing boats. And this kid's just holding up the money, and grown men who don't know him are picking him up and over his shoulders, and the joy that little kid at 10 years old is going to remember that moment for the rest of his entire life. And so, yes, it was deeply instilled within me that you never shut a door.
I love that.
You always make too much food. You always get an extra plate. And I think that people that don't understand that don't get why I would sit in a blind and watch someone else kill their first deer before I shot a big buck. Ever. They don't get that. They don't get why you're not out there shooting ducks when someone calls and says, hey, we got a bunch of kids that are going to do a youth hunt. Can you come cook breakfast? Yeah, screw it. Let's go. And it's there's a reason that I have not missed a dove hunt since I was 6 years old. It's because this open door policy of the more people that surround who we are as a person, the better it is. And if I can do that through a bite of food, then I've not only fed them with their stomach, but I've fed them spiritually. I've fed them emotionally. I've fed them, I fed their core of who they are through a bite of food and through fellowship.
Well, yeah. My mom would, if we didn't have a table that would seat 25, but we would bring out a card table. We'd bring out 2 card tables. People would be sitting around TV trays. The house would be full. She would be cooking chicken fingers or tacos. We didn't do it every Tuesday, but it was a taco night. Was a big night at our house, and so that to me is it's come into my adulthood. And we have people over at our house. We have college students over. We have students from from where I work over from Stanford University, and so it's just instilling that idea of hospitality is so important, because it's something that you'll never forget. It's something that my kids will never forget. They'll see this. They'll do this one day. They'll build a bigger table, and I built a table myself that will seat 12. And so, when we have more than 12, we bring out card tables. And so it's just it really goes back to the joy that we received when we were younger because of somebody modeling that for us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I loved your devotional series, that Game and Grace that you offer. And you draw this connection between the sacredness of the hunt and the idea of grace. How'd you come to see hunting not just as sort of practical pursuit, but as spiritual practice that brings deeper meaning to the entire sort of field to table experience?
I was born and raised in the faith. Again, that hospitality aspect of my parents. I was 3 days old the first time I went to church, and we go every Sunday, and our kids are involved. I was in all this. You fill in the blanks. I did it when it was at church, and this idea. We had this pastor who recently passed away, but his whole premise was God gave us grace stacked upon grace, stacked upon grace, stacked upon grace. He created a devotional called Stacked Upon Grace. And he used to say that God gave us a basket, and it was so full of grace that if you got home at the end of the day and the basket was still full of grace, and you'd go back out to pass it all out. And he just had this whole thing of like this idea that God gave us more than we'll ever need. And so if you see someone with a need, it's your job to be like Christ and to go out there and to fulfill this. And so for me, when I sit in the blind, I've always been a writer. I write all the time. I've written Christian books. I'm in the process of writing cookbooks. I've written a bunch of this Game and Grace. And so growing up, my mom was very big on journaling. It was a way for my mom to this day still, like, we were joking around saying as soon as my mom dies, we're going to have 4 dumpsters full of journals, because she journals she does not miss a morning to journal.
Treasure trove, man.
And to pray. And she's got prayer request books. She's got journals. And it's just every day she writes in this thing. And so for me, what I started doing is when I started big game hunting is I took a journal with me to journal my trip. hey, this is day one, did this. What I started finding that I was doing is when I was sitting waiting for a deer, waiting for a duck, waiting for whatever, I started writing devotions, daily devotions to myself versus just like, hey, I'm duck hunting. It was more like, hey, on this duck hunt, this is what I'm seeing. And this is the scripture verse that I'm using to, and it just became something for me that was just spiritual, just that idea that it's just me and God. You know, I pray over all the animals that I kill. Every critter you see behind me has been blessed and prayed over before anything ever happens to it. But before a tag goes on it, it's me thanking God for that critter and for the meat. And so I was turkey hunting a year ago, and we were doing this film with some guys with NWTF, National Wild Turkey Federation, and I was in hunting, paired up. I was helping guide this guy. This guy was something else on a negative side of it. Very rude, very short, very, I'm going to be the first one to shoot this bird. It's me, 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 me. And I'm like, whatever, dude. I don't really care. I've shot more birds than I care, like, whatever. Have fun. Shoot it. And, I'll call it in. And it was really, really slow. And I pull out my little journal and I start journaling. And he goes, what are you, gay or something? I was like, what? I look over, he's like, journaling like a little girl? What, do you got a little journal? You look, I got a little journal? And I was like, yep. And I just kind of put my head down and he's like, oh, what? Oh, he's like, well, let me see that. What does it have? Sparkles? Does it have stickers? I was like, so I hand him the journal. I said, read through any page you want. Like, I said, what I do. And I explained the whole process kind of like to you. And he goes, oh, so you're one of those Christians too. I was like, you can call me whatever you want, man. I said, but this is what I do. This is the way that I give back. This is just for me. This is when I die, people can read these devotions. Mm-hmm. And he takes that book and he puts it in his back pocket. And I went, whatever. There's probably 50 pages written in there. So I pull out another journal out of my backpack. Look at there. And I start writing. He's like, you got another one? I was like, well, if that one gets full, I always bring two, or if that one gets wet or I lose it. So then we sit in there and he ended up, I call in this big turkey. We shoot the turkey. We go back to camp. And we're sitting there and he's like, oh, I'm just going to breast out this thing. I was like, no, I'm going to pluck this thing. I'm going to show you how to utilize the whole bird. And he's like, no one plucks turkeys. I was like, I pluck turkeys. I'm going to show you how to utilize this whole bird. Plus, NWTF is filming. We're filming plucking this turkey. So you can cut out the breasts after it's done, but you're going to have a plucked out turkey that's going to be broken down into all the quarters. You're going to have legs, thighs, breasts, wings. You're going to have gizzards. You're going to have heart. You're going to have liver. You're going to have everything you need for this turkey bird. And then if you want to just take the breast, then I'll take all the rest. I don't care. So we go out there. We're filming, doing stuff. He's not there. And about 2 hours goes by. He comes out to me. He's like, do you mean everything that you've written in this book? I went, what? He's holding up the little journal. He's like, do you honestly believe and mean everything that you've written in this book? And I was like, I wouldn't have written it if I wasn't passionate or honest about it. He goes, I've read through all 50 pages. And I was like, great. He's like, I got a bunch of questions. I was like, let's sit down. We talked until 10 o'clock that night. Like, we missed dinner. Like, we were sitting there and he was just, boom, firing off, trying to back me into a corner. I was like, listen, dude, I will tell you right now, I am a really good debater. I said, you're either going to cry or hate me at the end of this. I said, but I don't want to debate you because in debating, there's a winner and there's a loser. And I don't believe there should be a winner and a loser when it comes to faith. I said, if you want to ask questions, you want to have conversations, we got it. I ain't going to debate you. If you want to think you won, then you won. I said, but that's where it's going to stop. And so we just talked. And he's, page 7. Do you truly believe? Actually, yeah, dude. And here's why. And so then he sat there and he goes, you need to put these out. Or he's like, you need to charge people money. You need to make this into a book, charge people money. He's like, do this whole thing. And I was like, you know what? Screw it. I'm putting it up online for free. I said, you choose your 30 favorite, and I'm going to throw it up there. And so that Game and Grace came out of him choosing the ones that he thought that most people would get into. Wow. I mean, I could probably do 500 of those Game and Grace, which my wife's like, just throw them up, just do them. But he was all mad because I have 20,000 downloads on that game in Grace. And I was talking to this guy. He goes, think about if you would have just sold them for $5 a book. And I go, think about how much more God has used not charging $5. I said, who knows if 20,000 people would have spent $5 on it. I said, and I have more people that are telling me, oh, I read that, or that was really awesome. I have people that are printing it up and taking it with them on hunts. Some of these stories of these guys are like sharing. They use it as like they printed up one and they put it in their hunting lodge. So when they go, they can do a devotion with their buddies when they're at dinner. I mean, and if anyone doesn't know what it is, it's literally just one page. It is a small one-page bullet point. This is my thought. Here's a scripture verse to go with it. If you don't know how to pray, here's a quick little 2-sentence prayer that you can pray.
No, it's great. I love
it. It's just funny because it's one of those deals. It's like challenge me, right? When I didn't know how to gut that animal, I dove myself into understanding how to butcher animals completely. And now I've taught 400 new adult hunters how to butcher animals, right? When I didn't understand the flavor of a meat, I dove fully hardcore into it to understand that flavor of the meat. And so when someone tells me like, hey, you can't do that, it's like, watch.
Yeah. You want bet?
So, yeah. You know, like my family has a saying, prove it. Right? Like if someone says something, let's prove it. Right? And my brother's like, I'm going to dive down and get that rock. Prove it. And so people will say stuff to me and they're like, I go, okay, I'm going to prove you wrong. I'm going to prove you right. But at the end of the day, someone's going to be proved. And so that game in Grace really, truly came out of that conversation with that guy where him saying, more people need to read this. More people need to understand the simplicity of why you hunt. Because if you read it, it's why I hunt. It's my thought at that moment. And it's not deep, it's not profound, but it's my heart in a paragraph.
No,
that's truly kind of where I try to cap it as. It's one paragraph of my heart in that moment around that animal that I killed.
Love it. Yeah, we'll put that up, a link to that on our show notes for sure. I mean, that is something that more people need to see it. It's fantastic, and it's really thoughtful, and you can tell it's uniquely to you, and it's just grounded in scripture. And
well, I love
well done.
You know, one of the things, Brian, we've talked about so much on the podcast is, you know, literally the byline of the podcast is finding clarity in the stories we tell and the adventures that shape us. And I love the aspect of these devotions that there's an invitation to pause and reflect, and you put that in there, and I love that. Can you share? Is there maybe a moment that you slowed down in the field or at the table that you saw, you know, that the Lord showed you something in a profound way that maybe it's one of those, you know, that you published, or maybe it's one recently where in that moment you're like, man, this is a new part of a new grace, or saw a bit of that grace that God, because God gives us grace. I've talked about this before. You know, he doesn't give grace out of his abundance of grace. He gives according to. You know, if a millionaire gives me $1 out of his money, it's just $1. But if he gives me according to what he has, then there's a different gift. So God's grace is infinite. And so, man, every moment you see grace in a new light. And so is there a moment recently perhaps that you've seen or experienced the Lord in a special way?
I mean, there's loads and loads and loads of just things I can think about. But I think back to like when I quit my job, I think that was one of the most aha moments with God for myself, because I was hemming and hawing about this from field to plate idea, and doing this from field to plate stuff, talking with my wife, still working 15 hours in the restaurant, and everyone around me is like, dude, you need to do this full time. And I was like, no, but the money, right? Like I cannot walk away from set amount of money from my family. Just going from yay, full bank account to no dollars coming in is not feasible. And I just kept denying the words in my head, the God speaking to me. I'm like, not yet, not yet. I volunteer for our youth ministries, junior high and high school at our church. And we were at our junior high program, and we were doing stuff, and I ended up tearing my calf muscle, class 4 tear in my calf muscle. With all these junior hires and stuff around. And it was a moment where it was, when your calf muscle's up in your kneecap, type deal. And for me, it was literally God saying, you won't stop, I'll stop you. You won't give up. Guess what? You can't do anything now. And I wasn't allowed to work for 6 months because I could put zero weight on this calf.
Wow.
I had a 1-year-old at home. We just had our second daughter. And so it was like, okay, I'm home. Like, there's nothing. And so I really just focused on from field to plate stuff, focused on family, focused on faith, because I'd been working nonstop since I was 14 years old in name it. It's the first time I had not been working. And I was just sitting there like, okay. And this 6 months goes by and my marriage is better. I'm having more fun. I'm getting to know my daughters. I'm volunteering more and more at church. And we go back. I'm going back to work in a week. This is a Sunday. I go back on that next Saturday. And we're in church, and our pastor at the time, Bruce, talked a series on cannonballing. Talked about how in life, our goal in life is everyone to, you'll hear people like, just dive into it, dude. Just dive right into it. Just dive into it. Well, diving only impacts yourself. The goal of a dive is to not make a splash. The goal of a dive is to go in and be as clean and crisp as possible. So much so that no one around you even knows you dove into the pool. He goes, in life, we need to cannonball. We need to jump in as Christians. We need to jump into something. We need to make such a splash that not only does it impact everybody in the pool, but everybody that's close enough on the outside of the pool gets impacted by your splash as well. The best part of a cannonball is that everybody in the pool gets it. That cannonball splash hits the end of the pool, and it's going to come back, and you're now going to feel the effect of all the laughter and all the joy and all the pissed off people and every fill in the blank. It's going to come back, and that splash is going to hit you back as soon as you come out of the water. He goes, we need to and he goes this whole sermon about cannonballing and how you need to do it with, if you don't do it fully, if you don't make that full tuck, you're going to hit your back, you're going to hurt yourself, you're going to splash, you're going to belly flop, but to truly make that impact. And I'm sitting there going, oh, great sermon, good, yay, good. My wife's nudging me. I'm like, yeah, it's good, honey. I don't know it's a great service. All I'm thinking about is going back to work on Saturday.
She's like, he's talking to you.
So then, mind you, we've got a church of 5,000 people, right? So we go out and we're getting ready. We go pick the kids up from like nursery and the other kid from the other thing. And Bruce comes running like around, Jeremiah, I don't know why, but that sermon's for you. He's like, this wasn't even what I was going to preach about. He goes, I don't know what's going on in your life. He's like, but you need to grab your knees and you need to make the biggest dang splash that you can make. And he's a Southern preacher from Kentucky. So he's got that drawl. He's just in my face. He's telling me what to do. Jeremiah, you need to do this. Oh, God's teaching. And I'm sitting there going, hey, Bruce. And my wife's like, And I was like, all right, Bruce. Really? He's like, no. He's like, listen. You need to grab those knees. You need to jump. You need to get the highest high dive that you can. He's like, God's got splashes. God's got this. God's got that. And I'm like, okay, Bruce, thanks. Appreciate it. We go home that night, and I'm not talking. That Monday comes. That Tuesday comes. I'm still in my head. Thursday comes. Friday comes, and I'm like, I go back to work tomorrow. My wife and I had a long conversation. We looked at our budget. We looked at savings. We looked at everything else. My wife said, hey, we've been dating since high school. I've never seen you this happy. And we just started going through stuff. She goes, let's be poor. Like, we'll be poor together. Like, we've got our kids. We'll macaroni and cheese. She's like, you can go shoot a deer. Like, we're fine. And I was like, okay. And I walked into work that evening. I was supposed to start the next day. And I said, hey, I'm not coming back. And they started throwing numbers at me. And I was like, oh, nope, I'm not. I said, I'm going to give it a year. We're going to give it a year. And they're like, well, your job's still here in a year. And I said, great. Thanks for the fallback. I said, then I'm going to give it 2. And they're like, what? I said, if my job's still here in a year, then I'm giving it 2 years. Because I don't want that fallback. I don't want the 12 months, Jeremiah, 12 months. It's like, and that was in October of 2016. And I have not been back. That restaurant's not even there anymore. They tore it down and they're putting it in housing. But I haven't been back. And it's when I truly cannonballed, when I truly jumped off full force, said, God, make a splash, that he said, I got you. And it really, for me, became the moment of there is no other option. There is no other thing. You know, growing up, I wanted to be a missionary. I wanted to do this other stuff. I thought about, you know, I've been to 17 different countries as a missionary in junior high and high school and college. Now I have a mission field that is the most disgusting mission field we have, which is the hunting industry. Mm-hmm. The amount of infidelity in our hunting industry, the amount of alcoholism, the amount of language, the amount of fill in the blank in our hunting industry. Going to SHOT Show, going to ATA, going to a Great American Outdoor Show, and watching people that claim to be Christians that turn around and do things behind their wives' backs. Going to hunting camps and seeing the perversion within a hunting camp. Watching them film a TV show and seeing the fake and the lies and the manipulation. I now have a mission field that is way bigger than any mission field I could have ever thought about going to India or Africa. And I have one that I have never, ever, ever blocked a vegan or vegetarian or a death threater. And I get about 20 death threats a week. Never blocked them.
Did he really?
Oh yeah, it's fun. The only people I don't, or the only people I have blocked are people within the industry that are so disgusting and so perverse that I'm like, I can't even be associated with you.
Wow.
I've had companies flash big dollar signs for me to become famous with them, but I see who they support and who they're with, and I said, sorry. I've been asked to be on TV shows and podcasts that I look at who the hosts are, and I'm like, I don't want my junior hires to listen to that show. I don't want my daughters to listen to that show. At the end of the day, if I come home and my daughters aren't proud of me, I failed. If I go to church and the 75 junior high boys that are wanting me to play dodgeball with them don't know who I am as a person, then I failed. Hunting and being a chef is what God gave me. But being true, authentic, and humble to other people around me is just, that's who I'm called to be. And so I look at it completely different. I don't look at it, you know, people always say, Jeremiah, why don't you become famous? I have no desire for fame. Every person that's famous, you look at them and they will back away from their beliefs for the dollar. They will give into that, right? You know, as you guys are both Christians, you guys understand it. Can't serve both God and money. It says it clearly in the Bible. And so the money is there to support my family and to support the company, but opening it up to support God and to give back to God. Like, I'm doing a whole new knife collaboration with Dawson Knives. And one of the deals that we talked about was, I told them they're a Christian company, and we was talking Christianity. I said, okay, I want 10% of the knife sales to go to this Christian organization, you know, Christian Outdoor Alliance, where they take out kids in a Christian-based thing to teach them how to hunt and fish. If you're going to, you know, like, here's what I want. And they said, great, we'll put it in the contract. So 10% of all those sales are going directly to this organization. And I talked to them yesterday, the Christian Outdoor Alliance, and the lady and the husband were like, why? Like, that's it. I was like, because that's it. Like, I'm taking the same amount of money that you guys are going to make. Like, I'm taking my percentage, cutting it in half so you guys get a percentage of my percentage. Because again, it's not about the money. It's about giving back. It's about understanding the process. It's about, at the end of the day, I want my funeral to be filled with so many people that said, oh my gosh, he touched me here. He poured into my life here. He fed us dinner one time. He did this one time. I don't want he was a good person. Oh, I want the stories to be, God blessed him so much that he blessed other people beyond his means. Right? Wow. That whole, if someone asks for you to walk with them a mile, walk with them too. And so it's like, that is where I've geared my life. That is where I'm 42 years old. I ain't going to change. I don't care what you think about me. I care what my wife thinks about me. I care what my kids think about me. I care what my dad thinks about me, what my mom thinks about me. I care what the people around me matter most. I care what you guys think, to a point where it's like, you sit there going, oh, I really respect him for who he is, because I ain't going to change. But if it's like, hey, change to do this, to become this, I'm like,
deuces.
Like, yeah. I've been poor my entire life, and I'll be poor until I die. I really don't care. Like, the almighty dollar ain't got nothing on me, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, well, there's that. I think they're monetarily and from an outside looking in, right? They would say that guy's poor, but man, sitting where I'm sitting, you look like you're rich to me.
Oh yeah.
Rich in friends and family, and a congregation that you serve, and rich in meals and having those kinds of experiences. Man, that's worth more than money. Can't really buy that. Like all those breakfast burritos in the morning around a dove field. I mean, that's living. In my eyes, I think about that's life and life abundant. As Scripture talks about.
Yeah.
One of the things that I love that I've enjoyed watching is a couple of your on your reels where you rank different meats. I like those, but I'd love for you to, like, when you think about the meals that you've cooked, and you've listed off some delicious meals, and my mouth watered every time you talked about pairing up. And I love that, thinking about what you said, Brian, of the if it grows together, it goes together, and I think that, we talked about that with the different animals, and you gave some amazing examples of, turkeys and apples, drunk turkey, and that sounded incredible. So finding ways to do that. What's when you rank some of your favorite meals, and I know that's got to be incredibly difficult. What's a memorable meal that you were like, man, that's one of my favorites I've ever done, or maybe it's the next one. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I think for me, it's not the meal for myself. It's usually the meal that someone wants to create for them. Like we were pheasant hunting, and there was this dad, and he had two sons, and the son shot his first bird, like an 11-year-old dude, shot his bird, smoked it out of the air, right? Oh, it was a gorgeous shot. And kids beyond the moon. Dog runs out there, retrieves it, full, the bird's still flapping. It's everything you want to see in a video, right?
Yeah.
This kid's excitement. And the dad turns to him and goes, "We don't eat pheasant because they taste disgusting." And the joy on this kid's face went, boom, right?
Oh.
And I'm sitting there going, release to the bird and my thing. And I'm like, what? Like, why as a dad would you say that in that moment with the joy? And so I got down on my knees with the little kid. I said, "What's your favorite meal you've ever had in your entire life?" 10-year-old kid. He's like, "Orange chicken from Panda Express." And I was like, "Your favorite meal in the entire world, orange chicken from Panda Express." And I was like, "Okay." I said, "Well, I'm gonna do you a favor. I'm gonna create you a recipe that you're gonna be able to utilize this bird. You're gonna be able to create Panda Express orange chicken at home with your dad, and you're gonna be able to prove your dad wrong. You're gonna be able to say, 'Dad, we eat pheasant.'" My dad's looking at me, and he's just like, so then I looked at his son. I said, "But one pheasant ain't gonna be enough. You guys each have 2 pheasants to shoot, and we've only had 1. We have 3 more birds to get." And so I told the dad. So we were going out there, and then the dad said something else. I was like, "You know what? Why don't you go sit in the car? If you're gonna be negative, go sit in the car." Dad's like, I'll just stay in the back. So we shot the birds. We go show the kids the process. I get the dad's email. I work for a week. Like, I'm not just gonna go buy a bottle of orange sauce. I want this kid to create a meal, right? And my wife's looking at me. She's like, "I don't want any more orange pheasant, Jeremiah. Like, we eat it for a week." And I'm like, I gotta get this right. And finally, there was one that we were like, "This is amazing." So I write it all out, send it to the dad, and I say, "Here's the dish. Cook it." A week later, I get a text or I get an email back from the dad with a picture of his son with a bowl of orange chicken, the biggest smile on his face, and he goes, "You've proved us wrong." That's all it said in the email. Those are the meals to me that excite me. Have I created dishes that I'm like, my family's like, make again? Yes. But when I take someone that says, that changed their mind on it, like this Aoudad right there. Like, we went and shot that Aoudad for my birthday because a bunch of Texas guys said Aoudad are inedible. I said,
"What a bit."
And so we went out and shot Aoudad, and we came back, and I cooked them like 3 different ways, and these Texas hillbillies out there eating Aoudad, and they're like, "This is phenomenal." We change our mind, right? Guys that say fill in the blank. And so I look at all those aspects of food as I want your story. I want that kid to have that recipe. So when his first son shoots his first bird, he's like, I got a recipe for you. And he takes that recipe and he makes that recipe for his kid. And for me, those are the meals that mean the most to me. It's the meals that get people quiet. It's the meals that, one of my most memorable meals is we were in Georgia, and it was during election time. There was a bunch of big debates going on in Georgia with left and right, red and blue, up and down, green and black, whatever you fill in the blanks, right? And I looked at the guy and I said, I have an idea. How many of these politicians can you get together in the same room? He goes, are you insane? I was like, I got an idea. So we got 5 from the left and 5 from the right. And I told him, I said, just watch. And so we set a table, and I cooked a big wild game meal. We were out turkey hunting, about a bunch of turkey, or we shot a bunch of turkeys and wild boar, and I was cooking this whole big spread. And they were going, all these politicians are sitting around this table just, you, this. I came out, put the food on the table, presented what I was going to present. I said, and if you will look around the table, you realize there is no silverware. So the reason there's no silver on this table is because God gave us silverware in our hands. I believe in utilizing all of our senses while we eat. So please use your senses, pick up, get dirty, enjoy these animals. I'll be back with dessert. The moment they started touching, feeling, eating, there was no more arguing. There was no more bickering. There was no more left, right. It was about the food. It was about the texture. It was about this. It was, did you try this sauce? Quick, go over there to that sauce. Hey, hand me more of that bread. Hey, go ahead and pass that side dish. Hey. And I was laughing because I looked at the guy and said, food is the greatest equalizer. You can't be pissed off when you're eating a good meal. You just can't. And so the moment the last bite was taken, all of a sudden it became, what's your thought on abortion? And then blah, 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 blah. And I was like, oh, dessert time. I brought it out, and I brought out dessert. And they ate dessert, and it was quiet, and everyone was having a good time. Oh, more ice cream. Oh, pass the... And then I stood up in front of all those guys. I said, listen, it's amazing how you didn't argue when there was food out on the table. It's amazing how you didn't argue when I started feeling, I said, if we can do more of this, fellowshipping together instead of tearing people down because of their thought on fill in the blank, our country would be the most amazing country in the entire world. Even though I think we're still the best country in the world, we'd be even better. And they all kind of just sat back in their chairs. I said, so go ahead and bicker and argue all you want, but while you're around my dinner table, it's all about building up. And I turned and walked away. The next hour, they just talked. They just enjoyed. And then they got up and they all left. And so those are the meals to me that, to me, are the most memorable. I can tell you about the flavors. I can tell you about this. But it's those little things that change someone's perspective over a single bite of food that some poor kid from California who should have no business being around those people just made them think because of a bite of food.
Yeah,
right?
That's good.
God took away beef from my life for a reason. I don't ever look back and say, man, I wish I could have beef. God said, hey, food is your passion. You love a good steak. Guess what? You can't eat it anymore. Figure it out. And so because God took away something, I had the opportunity to either sulk in that taking away or say, okay, God, let's go. And that's really because people are like, you can't eat a steak. I'm like, yeah, but have you eaten Oryx? Have you eaten Nilgai? Have you eaten it? They're like, well, no. I said, you're missing out. Steak sucks compared to a Nilgai T-bone. I will take your a Nilgai T-bone against your grass-fed finished beef you got at Costco any day of the week, and I will destroy you. And you will go, crap, I got to go shoot a Nilgai. So you can eat your beef. Just know that I'm eating better than you are. Because, again, I know where all my food comes from. These two hands have filled 3 giant freezers in my fridge. When my daughters want lunch meat, guess who made their lunch meat? When my daughters want jerky and meat sticks, and guess who did it? Like tonight, we're doing my daughter wanted Spam musabi, it's like the rice with the Spam and I bought a machine or like a pressure cooker to make Spam because I'm like, I got to figure out how to make wild Spam, I guess. I don't want to go buy a can of Spam. And so I bought this little pressure cooker that I can actually make thinly sliced lunch meat, like bologna lunch meat, with this machine.
That's
It's
cool.
like, okay, great. I'll figure it out. And that's really where my daughters look and thrive. It's like, Dad, I want this. Okay, I'll figure it out. And so for them, it's really proved to them, like, hey, figure it out. There should be no reason to say no to something. There shouldn't. Like if you can figure it out, figure it out. And it's like that whole dad, I can't. Can't is not a word in my house. It just isn't.
That's good.
You
How does
can,
that?
or you do or you don't. There's not I tried it. No, you can do it if you put your mind to it. You can really truly figure it out.
Man went Yoda on us. He's like, do or do not. Do
Yeah.
try.
But it's true though, right? That's
so true.
People give up way too quick, especially in this world where everyone's on their cell phone.
Yeah.
Oh well, I'll just Google it. Okay, Google it, do whatever. But I'm gonna go out there and actually do it. So
How does that that mentality? I'm sure I would imagine you bring that into, and I'd love to hear. We'd love to hear about your the school and the educational stuff that you're doing when it comes to field to plate.
yeah, that started because of when I started. There was nobody there. I was an adult who had a pocket knife, and when I asked for
a dull Swiss Army knife.
those tweezers still work out well. And I still carry that knife with me because you never know when you need a corkscrew. But
I was just thinking about that little bitty corkscrew.
use it as a butt out on a big old deer. But there's this. To me, I looked at it and there was nobody there. And when I asked the old timers, they said, "Figure it out, right?" Or "I'm not going to take you out there. I'm not going to teach you. I don't have the time for that. This is about me. This is about A, Y, and Z." And I said, you know what? There's got to be a way. And everyone always focused on kids. Don't get me wrong. I took out 8 kids dove hunting 2 days ago. I've never seen a kid drive into Bass Pro Shop and spend $1,000 to go hunting on their own. I've never seen a kid go and buy membership to the National Wild Turkey Federation. I've never seen a kid go out and buy a whole new spread of duck decoys. I've never seen a kid go out there for 14 hours a day to make sure that their duck dog is on point before you go out. What I do see is adults. And then I see the kids that don't have adults that want to pursue that, and the kids that come out and hunt, and then they go home and their parents don't want to do it, and those kids fall off. Those kids don't continue to do it because, again, they're not driving themselves to the field. They're not driving them here. And so my goal became, how do I get the new adult hunters, part of that R3 program that a lot of states rolled out, how do I get the new adult hunters excited about it? And it truly became, well, we want to learn all about it. So I do doe classes. I just talked to a ranch yesterday, which I think I've got 15 does that they said I can take. These ranches donate the does, so I can keep the cost at just what it costs for the class, like for the lodging, the food, all that kind of stuff. And then they come out and they learn how to be a community. These people don't know each other. There's males, there's females. There's one of my classes, I had a 92-year-old man and as the oldest and an 18-year-old female as the youngest. And there were 6 people in between. And they learn everything from how to pull the trigger to we go out in the blinds, we shoot does. The reason I do does is because trophies don't matter. No one ever comes back and says, your doe's bigger than my doe, or your doe has a bigger head than mine, or your doe has a doe's a doe. And once it's skinned, a doe looks just like a doe. And then it goes through the whole process of hands-on, not a class in Cabela's where the deer is sitting on a table and everyone's sitting there with a notepad and they're watching a guy butcher it. They're not learning a dang thing because I'm a hands-on person. I need to get dirty. Like I don't wear gloves because I want to feel. Again, I'm a textile. We talked about all the senses, and they come out and that's the deer you shot. I am next to you, helping you. If you make a bad cut, I have a saying in my classes: it's just another meatball. Don't worry about it. Like if you leave a little extra meat and you got to go scrape it off, just throw it. It's just another meatball. Like I actually have a shirt that's being made that one of my buddies made, and it's got a meatball on. It's got a meatball on it. It says it's just another meatball. And so, because that's what I say, like, it's just another meatball. Who cares? If you did it, like, you can mess up all of it and we'll just grind it. Don't worry about it. But we go through the whole process. These are how you get steaks. This is how you take off a back leg. And it's a whole process. Then they go to the next step is they learn how to either process it down farther and then also protect it. So this is how you wrap it. This is how you vacuum seal it. This is the benefits of wrapping, benefits of vacuum sealing. If we have time, we'll make some sausages and show them how to do the basic sausage stuff. So then when they leave the class, their hands have done 100% of the job in 4 days. The confidence really that builds. I have 415 new adult hunters I've taken out in the past 6 years. Those hunters are now taking out new hunters. Like a gentleman just posted, he went and shot a deer up in Northern California that went through one of my classes, who took out his brother and his brother-in-law for their first hunts, and he's like, I just showed him how to cut off the backstrap, and he's giving somebody like that whole teach a man to fish really, really resonates, because now what you're doing is you're teaching somebody that they don't need anybody else but their own hands. That God gave them all the tools they need, minus a sharp knife, but he taught someone how to make a knife for you, that you can go in there and do it yourself. And it's just, I've had ex-CIA people come through. This guy that couldn't even give his real name because we couldn't know who he was. I had a heart surgeon from New York who came to one of the classes. I picked him up from the airport. We got there. He took his phone, he turned it off, put it up on top of the fridge, and said, I don't want to hear or read that, like even think about it. And I was like, dude, how did you hear about the class? And he goes, well, you got published in, I forget what magazine it was. Oh, Outdoor Life. He goes, and I had just lost somebody on the operating table, and I walked into the waiting room, and I picked up the Outdoor Life just to finger through it and not think about it. He's like, and I saw this class, and it was written by a girl named Katie who was on the verge of becoming a vegan, and Outdoor Life sent her to the class to do a write-up on it. She shot her first deer. She's now an avid hunter. She hunts elk and everything all over the country. And she wrote this whole write-up. Now, she went in negative, and she came out a hunter. And he's like, I read it, and then I went on your website, and I saw that you had classes that were starting back up, so I just signed up. He's like, I've never even touched a gun in my life. They're illegal in in downtown New York, right?
All right, yeah.
And he goes out and he shoots this deer, and he just I'm in the blind with him, and he shoots it. And he just starts sobbing. Of course, then I start sobbing because I'm just a big baby too. And he goes, I can feed my family. This is a heart surgeon in New York who makes millions and millions of dollars. He can feed his family, but in his mind, he can now feed his family. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's the same sentence. I can feed my family and I can feed my family. Like, it's those moments in the class that keep it. And so I didn't do it last year because we got so crazy with a bunch of other stuff and some ranches changing, but I just talked to a rancher and he's like, dude, this is how many deer you can take. And it's literally, it is a first time hunter. You are coming out, you are learning how to do this. I've taken out, like I said, vegans and vegetarians on their first hunts. I had a guy that was giving me a hardcore death threat, going crazy on me, going to murder me, going to kill me. Through the process of 6 months of me just talking with him, honest and open through social media, he's like, I think I want to go hunting. I took him on his first hunt. People thought I was absolutely insane when I handed him a gun. I said, here you go. And my dad was like, Jeremiah, you're insane. I was like, better to live as Christ and die as gain. If I die and we went out, and he is now an avid hunter. He has an upland game bird dog. He's taking his kids out. He's a huge pheasant hunter. He calls himself a hunting vegan because he only eats what he hunts. He won't go to the grocery store and buy it. Like, those are the things that, to me, is the reason why I teach the classes. Those are the things why I continue to give. Is because, again, I know we've talked for like an hour and a half of just stories, and I could go off for another 17 days of just people that have touched my life because I was able to help them through something. And I bet you they would say the same thing that I touch, but it really, truly touches me when a heart surgeon comes and says, thank you. Or when you see 10 politicians around a dinner table. Like, that touches me to say, keep doing it. Keep pushing.
No, that's awesome.
Like, I don't care about the next sponsor. I don't care about the next. God's going to provide for me. God's going to, if this is what I'm truly meant to be until the day I die, then God's going to keep filling those positions until one day he's like, you did a good job. Thanks. You know, it's like 400 adults. It's a lot. I don't think you guys have taken out 400 people to go on hunts, let alone brand new hunters.
Yeah.
You know, like just for this dove hunt, we had eight brand new adult hunters on this dove hunt. They didn't have shotguns. I was like, don't worry about it. I got 48 shotguns. You just show up. Well, ammo. Don't worry about it. You'll have ammo. Well, I don't have camouflage. Drive your Prius down a dirt road and park. Get out of the car. I'm going to hand you a gun. We're going to have a good time. And it's insane when they come walking over. They're like, I got one, and the whole field erupts for them.
Oh, that's
you know,
awesome.
and then you cook a meal with that bird, and they're like, you're creating a legacy in a single shot.
Yeah, generational. Yeah,
it's
generational.
It's that generational wealth, but in heart and mind versus a dollar. You know.
Yeah, man, that's beautiful.
Man, well, we've taken up more time than I know that you probably were intending on giving us, but we're so grateful. The last question we like to ask our guest is, what's your next adventure?
Next adventure? Mm-hmm. I'm going to go change this load of laundry that's just spinning over here. Actually, I'm set to, what is today? Today is the 5th. On the 17th, I'm heading to Montana for archery elk and mule deer.
Wow.
With a buddy. No cameras, just a buddy who was like, come on up. So I drew a tag. And then it is go from there. We're taking some new hunters. Actually, so before that, we're taking some new hunters up for end of dove season, which is the weekend of the 13th. Then doing elk and mule deer. And then we're coming home. And we've got some youth waterfowl that's kicking off that we're doing. We got to just, this fall is, my wife looked at the calendar. She's like, you're not home for like 90 days. I was like, love you. You're the one that told me to do this. You're the one that pushed me. You're the one that said go. You're the one that said cannonball.
I'm cannonballing, honey.
Yeah,
Cannonball.
baby girl, don't worry about it. No, I tell everyone all the time that I was blessed with a wife who just says go. She understands my passion, but we've also been together since senior year of high school. So she's known. I remember we were just started dating, and I was like, hey, I'm going to Russia for 3 months for a mission trip. She's like, great, have a good time. I'll be here when you get back. She picked me up at the airport with my parents, and it's just, she understands that it is what it is. Like, I actually took her out on her first dove hunt this trip. She's never hunted before ever. She's gone on minutes. She's like, nope, have no desire. She got her license and said, I'm going out with you. And I was like, what? She didn't shoot a dang thing, but she went out. And she got a bruise on her arm because she kept moving it over. I was like, pocket it in your shoulder. Trying to teach her like a 2-year-old. But yeah, no, I think so. That next adventure is, I'm really looking forward to that elk. Just getting out, sitting out in the middle of Montana, in the middle of a rut, calling in a bowl, and just hopefully sticking it. And then I've already got some like my daughter, this morning when we're taking her to school, she's like, so can we do pho as soon as you get that elk? And I was like, and she's like, well, last time you shot the elk, I was like, sure. She's like, because we need more bones. There's no more bones. You can't make bone broth. I'm not gonna buy. Like, my daughters are in the same mindset. That was literally this morning. She's like, we have no more bones in the freezer, Dad.
Gotta restock, babe.
I mean, how many 11-year-olds know that are saying, Dad, there's no more bones in the freezer? Probably not too many, especially in Orange County, California.
That's true. That's true.
Like, don't say that at school, honey. Don't say that at school. But Dad, there's no more bones in the freezer.
My wife and I went to Dana Point for our honeymoon 19 years ago, and yeah, there's not a lot of hunters over there. From what I understood.
We're just hidden.
You're just hidden. You're still hiding. Yeah,
very camouflaged.
First turkey I shot was up in San Diego, and I shot my turkey. I was 19 years old, all excited, gutted the thing, plucked the thing, covered in blood, right? Camouflage. Not thinking anything of it. Walked into a grocery store. Next thing I know, I had cops around my vehicle. I was being detained. This guy's covered in blood. I'm like, oh, I guess I'm not in Wyoming. So, but yeah, there's a lot of us.
That's awesome.
Like, as soon as I hang out with you guys, I'm jumping on with the president of SCI for Orange County because they were out hunting. They didn't have anywhere to do, and they saw me driving around. I said, hey, I've got a field. and took out all these old timers to go hunt, and they were just blown away. They're like, "Why would you take us to your field?" I was like, "Because you had nowhere to hunt." And so now he's like, "We need to do some more stuff with youth and adults with Orange County SCI." And I was like, "Call me. Here's my card." So he texted me. He's like, "Can we get on and jump on? I've got some ideas for doing stuff with adults in Orange County for hunting." And I said, so again, God blesses you when you just walk through the door, right? Like the door's open and many of us are scared to do it, but he's like, "Hey, come on." And you're like, "Oh, I don't know." It's like, just, it reminds me of The Last Crusade, right? Where Indiana Jones walks out to the divide and he looks down and it's just like a leap of faith right on his next thing.
Yeah.
And he just steps out and then you turn it and you see that it's like, just step out, just go for it. So
yeah, it's that it's like that saying, you can't outgive God, right? I love that. How can we talked about your school and different things. How can people follow from field to plate and follow your work and and consequently support what you're doing?
Yeah, so the biggest thing is From Field to Plate on all social media. Go there, like it, share it. You're going to realize that I am who I am. The person you heard me on this podcast, you watch social media, that is the person I am on social media.
Yeah.
There is no changing there. I mean, you read my profile, it's the very first thing is I believe in God. You can join the Facebook page if you are of that age. I have a From Field to Plate Facebook page that is an open. It's got 20,000 people on there, and all they do is share food. There's no trophies allowed. If there's a picture of a dead buck, there needs to be a picture of food next to it. Because again, the trophy is that, and it's exploded. The community that is part of that is huge. If you want some recipes from FromFieldToPlate.com, go on there. You can look at that, as well as there's a link to that Gaming Grace on that. And yeah, just follow along, get excited about it. I run all my stuff. I don't got some dude in the back that's running stuff. So if you have a question, hit it up. I have a 100% respond rate. And some of the questions are stupid, but they're not stupid to you. If it's a question you asked, it may sound dumb to 90% of us that hunt, but it's a question that you will honestly want answers to. So you're going to get a real answer. My wife told me dove hunting, I had like 12 people ask me the same question. She goes, "How can you answer the same question so politely to 12 different people?" I was like, "Because they all asked it." Like, that's just my mind, right? And she's like, "I would have been like, go ask so-and-so. I just told 6 other people." And so From Field to Plate, it's really, really, really easy on all the stuff. Sometimes I'm on TikTok. Most of the time I'm banned. So you might see stuff, you might not. I don't even think I have the app on my phone anymore. But yeah, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all that stuff. You can go on there, follow it. Ask questions. We'll
make sure to have all those.
If you don't see a recipe on there, I've got about 5,000 recipes that aren't on the website because I'm building a new website. So if you're like, "Hey, I really want this," guarantee you I've probably written it and have created it, and it's sitting in a database on my computer. So
very cool. Man, it's been a joy. Thank you for sharing your time with us today.
I appreciate you having me on.
We'll make sure to have all of those links and stuff in the show notes, and we'll have for those that a lot of people are rightly so stepping away some from social media, and so if you're listening to this and you want to keep up with what's going on with the Storied Outdoors, we'll have a page dedicated to this episode with Jeremiah, and it'll have a little summary and it'll have links, and we'd love for you to share some photos. Any photos that you'd love to share with us for us to promote this episode on our website and on our social media where we do promote the episodes and get them out there. But for those,
if you're not on social media, just ask for my cell phone number. I give it out like candy.
Nice.
My phone's always on, just like my parents' door was always open.
That's awesome.
So if you're one of those people that's like, I don't do social media, but I want to ask questions, Jeremiah at FromFieldToPlate.com is my email. Email me personally, and we'll chat and we'll have a good conversation. It's again, I've been threatened more times than I can count that you're not going to scare me. And the questions that you're asking have probably been asked 1,000 times. So I would rather you ask the question and find a real answer than struggle with that. If it's faith, family, food, or hunting, I'd fill in the blank. And if I don't know the answer, I probably know someone that does. So
yeah, that's good. I love that. Man, what a great conversation, and man, salivating over some of those meals that you were talking about, making me hungry, making me get ready to go home and cook. And over here in Alabama, we love college football, and so we'll be cooking up some food for football on Saturday. So I'm excited about what we're going to cook up on Saturday and get me inspired to defrost something out of the freezer and see what we can make up out of it.
Oh, I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, and man, just the inspiration of the hospitality. I mean, it's been a little bit of a theme in some of the episodes that we've been recording for this upcoming season. We talked to Josh Teff from Falco Outfitters, and man, those guys were really passionate about hospitality and having giving people a great experience on the duck hunts there in Oklahoma, and just how they work hard to make people feel welcome and give them a wonderful experience. And it's, to hear you talk about, around the table and how, rich, it's hard to be angry eating a good meal, and man, I love that. And I love seeing you, man, just throw yourself and, like you said, cannonball into that is beautiful. But man, ultimately, I'm so inspired by your desire to draw out your faith and see your faith flow through all of that. And it's a great inspiration to me and to, I'm sure, all that have listened. And so I hope this conversation, as we say, inspires people to get out there and write their own stories and share their own adventures in the place we love to call the Storied Outdoors.
If you've enjoyed this podcast, please take some time to leave us a review. Or better yet, share it with a friend. We hope these stories encourage you to write your own stories and share your own adventures in the Storied Outdoors.